Hello and welcome to another Logitech G Roundtable. Today we're going to be discussing LGBTQIA plus representation in gaming, our experiences in the gaming community, and what we can do to make it a more diverse and inclusive space. So I'll have our panelists introduce themselves, starting with Gwen.
Hello, my name is Gwen, or Shmoople is what I go by. I'm a transgender FPS streamer and content creator. I play a lot of Valorant, Tarkov, and Halo.
Very nice. And then Dave.
Hey there, my name is DataDave. I'm a queer voice actor, college professor, and content creator. Play a lot of Nintendo-based games like Pokemon, Final Fantasy XIV, and retro games recently. So you can catch me doing that and voice acting on my channel.
So fun, so fun. And then Miss MiladyConfetti.
Ooh, hi, I am MiladyConfetti. I am a cosplayer, variety, asexual content creator. I play a lot of Dead by Daylight, a lot of horror games, a lot of RPGs, and I kind of mix it up and do whatever wherever the wind takes me. And I also am a big anime nerd. So,
very nice, very nice. And then I will be hosting, moderating the discussion. My name is Jeff Brutlag. I am a variety streamer. I'm a writer. Mainly on my channel, you find me playing lots of spooky games, games with stories. We do a lot of games for the first time, so it's mainly just me reacting to lots of fun gameplay and story mechanics for things, and mainly screaming at NPCs. So to kind of get the conversation started, I'm curious, what's everybody's game of the year? Let's start with Confetti.
Like new game or game that's new to me?
Whatever's been like your game of the year this year.
Do not judge me, nobody, because this is my first time playing. But I love Stardew so far. Stardew Valley is my first time playing it, and I am having so much fun. I don't know what my life was. I don't know what I've been doing, but I am really enjoying it. I haven't like played through the whole storyline, but yeah, I'm like learning about like townspeople and like the drama and like the mayor. Oh my gosh, it's just so much, and I'm having so much fun. So that is my personal game of the year. So much drama.
There is, and like oh my god, I spent hours and hours on that game when I got it on the Switch, and I think I dumped like over 200 hours in it, and I didn't go back to it, but like seeing everyone else get into it is so fun. Just who they romance and just how their farms look.
I haven't even gotten to that part yet. I think I just made like my first friend. I'm like, how do you romance people?
You'll get there. It'll be a journey. Dave, what about you?
For me, honestly, so this isn't my game of the year, but there's a reason behind it. So Pokemon Legend of Arceus. Because I cannot wait for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Like, my biggest worry for the new game, I was like, I hope they take this system, because when Legends of Arceus came out, I played that game all day. Like, it was a Friday, Saturday, I played it all day, streamed it all day, and I was like, this is just relaxing and fun. I hope they continue it. And now Scarlet and Violet coming, they're continuing it, so that's game of the year for me. It took me by surprise.
I agree. What about you, Gwen?
I don't think I really have like a new release that I've been super hype on, but this year has kind of been like every game's second wind, it feels like. Like Fortnite came back in like a big way for me. Like no build mode, I feel like breathed a lot of life into that game, and like people are super into it. And like I don't play it every day, but if people would want to play it, like I'm more than willing to play it now that it's not like the ultimate sweat fest constantly. So like giving games a second chance is kind of like the theme of the year, I feel like, and I hope that continues. I hope Infinite bounces back at some point. I can try that.
You know, I feel like we're in an age where gaming it's so easy to change things now, and it's so easy to like see audience feedback for things, so that way like devs can be in tune to that and be like, oh, it looks like our player base wants this, so games can have these resurgences where, you know, they incorporate a lot of this feedback in, and then people can have more fun all over again.
Yeah, all it takes is one big update, and you just bring back so many people.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, exactly. That
all
got
of us
people
were like,
hooked.
It's like, yeah, we gotta get back. Let me go to my villagers.
Get the roaches out of my house.
They've been like, you've been going for 100+ days. It's like, yeah, I'm back for now.
Then all your villagers are like, where have you been? Did you die?
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah, for me, I got hardcore into Final Fantasy XIV.
Love it. Yes.
Thank you. Like, cause I started like before the pandemic, but then like once it hit, I was like, oh, let's sink ourselves into this now. So I'm working my way through like the most recent content, but I'm so glad that it's taken over my life because it's a joy and a half. If y'all were to live in a video game world, which one would it be? And already for me, Final Fantasy 14, because it's already built around like a franchise I've loved since I was like 6 years old, and everyone's beautiful in it, and that's easily where I'd be. So let's go Dave first. Where would you be?
So great minds think alike. I was gonna say Final Fantasy 14. I'm like, I could be different classes. I could look cool. It's the outfits for me, everything. So I'll pick that. But if I were to pick a second just to throw something different, it's anime, but video game, I'd say Naruto. I'll just throw it over there. Like, you know, I want to have my cool little jutsus and ninja magic, you know, whatever we gonna label it as, but I would pick that one. So 14 first, but Naruto will be a second.
Okay, confetti.
I would say Final Fantasy 14, just so I can be a Viera and then be a dancer. Yes. Like, that's just what I want to be. Like, I'm like, okay, I've won.
That's the power thing. I just recently made my switch to Bun Boy, and ever since.
Me too.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it.
I'm glad they did that.
Same.
Because I wasn't sure if that was coming. I was just like, they were like really like hard set on. They were like, no, like that's the Viera. That's just one person. And I'm like, you should probably listen to the community. I'm glad they did that.
Same.
Yeah, there's just something very like graceful and like very slightly feminine about the Bun Boys that like speaks to like the expression that I want to have in the real world. It's where I'm like, I'm glad I did this. Glad. Gwen.
Probably like a world with Pokemon. That would just be so like peaceful almost. I know there's like, you know, crazy like legendary birds and stuff that might terrorize your town, but it just sounds so fun. Like, who wouldn't want Pokemon?
Let's just go catch them.
Exactly.
Go catch them. I probably
ball at him.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel, but like I don't know if I would be one of the people that would like have my Pokemon fight all the time. Like I would just be like, I don't know, we'd like own a coffee shop together or something. We'd all just like, my Pokemon would help out.
You just have like a Skitty on the counter next to you, just like hanging out.
Yeah, I would love that.
Just for show, to be like, I am here and I'm pretty.
I'm pretty, I'm Skitty, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And then, so do any of you have like a game or something where you really saw yourself representative? If it was like, whether it's a character, or whether it's like the game itself in the game as far as your identity goes. And with Confetti talking about, I know you mentioned having come out as Ace. I was curious about whether or not you found yourself represented in any games recently.
I would say not directly stated, but I think it's just in her development and just how I perceive her. It would be Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West. The way that, because I know like she's, you know, a product of being raised in isolation, essentially. So there's a lot of social cues that she just never understood. And then in Forbidden West, like she has stuff to do. So like that's the furthest thing from her mind. But I feel like the way that she honestly reacted to like a lot, like people like coming on to her or like trying to sexualize her, like I've had the same reactions too. So I was just like, oh, okay. Like, you know, that's a little bit of me. I mean, I would love to see like a Black Ace woman represented because one thing, like for me, I always talk about intersectionality and how important that is, because typically when representation happens, it's typically in the form of a white woman, and that is very it's just hurtful because like, you know, when it comes to, you know, being a woman or femininity, like, you know, the default is, you know, a white woman looking a certain way. So
almost that like blank slate of like they don't have to think about any other issues other than just that identity. Totally.
Right. And you remember when Aloy's character initially came out, she had locks in her hair, and I was like, ooh, that's not good. So even her as a character has been problematic in the past. But I would say like as far as asexuality goes, like I see that a lot in her, and I was just like, you know, it was never her like the way that she would react to like Aaron or any other characters who were like kind of coming onto her. It wasn't like seen as like a she's broken type of thing. It's just like, no, like I don't want that. Okay, have a good day.
Which is, you know, and it's great to see that, because then I think it's what's nice, like as members of the community, you can be like, hi, yes, that's what I go through a lot as an asexual person. Right. So then there's kind of like in a way they represented it without putting an actual label on it. But it would be nice to see them be like, hey, yes, this character is ace, and put it in the text itself.
Yeah.
For sure. Gwen, what about you?
I think just like the nature of the games I play, it's hard to like find representation. Like I know there are shooters with like trans characters, but like just growing up when I played different kinds of games, just anytime I got to play as like a female protagonist, you know, I just played the game and like that's the mindset I was in. I was that character, and like living vicariously through that, I think really helped. Like I played one of the Tomb Raiders, I don't know which one, super young, and I was like, this is really cool. I like this. I like other characters in the game like talking to me and pretending it's me, I guess.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
I see what you mean.
Yeah. Like I am Lara Croft or something like that.
You are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah. It's my side job.
Love it.
And then just like any character creation, you can just be like a more feminized version of you, or like whatever features you're going for. Stuff like that really helps also.
What about you, Dave?
So for me, I would say yes and no. So yes, Mass Effect series, you know, you can choose who you want to date, make your own character, which is great because, you know, I'm like, hey, I can be gay, I can date whomever in this. So that's great. But at the same time, like, you know, before this, I was like, let me look up some LGBT characters that I feel represent me. And I'm like, I don't see many black gay men, you know, like there are typically like side characters, but where's that main character I could be like, oh, I feel just like them. So I haven't found that, but through different games like Mass Effect or even Boyfriend Dungeon, date who you want. Everybody's a weapon, everybody you could date. So like, you know, I still feel like there's a ways that needs to go in that area in regards to representation, but I have felt represented in having the choice to date whom I want within the game.
Right. Yeah. And that's what's nice is like, I definitely feel like I'm noticing a lot of indies putting forth that effort to get more of those identities represented. And I'm hoping that, you know, even like bigger studios start kind of taking some sort of a cue there, because, you know, there are a lot of people who are flocking to that and who are feeling really like, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted to see in a game. So I'm hoping, you know, bigger companies can start doing that. Yeah, because the first time I remember, and I was late after coming out too, was the Dragon Age series, which I know like BioWare does really well at like awakening a lot of queer people. And I remember I honestly, like, I heard that there was dating in it, but I didn't know who could be romanced by which gender. So I went in just like making someone that was just kind of supposed to be myself. And I had met, first of all, I was trying too hard to romance the wrong guy. Figures, so it's always how it goes. And then there was the elf guy, Zevran, comes in. And then once I started to like flirt with him and like move things along there, that's when I was like, oh, I can be gay in video games. And that's when like everything changed, because then I was like, now I just want to play any game where I could be gay in a video game, because why not? Like if this company can do it, why isn't everybody else? Like it felt that easy to me. Speaking of that, who are some of your all's favorite LGBTQIA plus game characters? Let's start with Dave.
For me, Alex Chen from Life is Strange True Colors. I love her so much. She's great.
She's so cool. I haven't finished that one, but like from what I've seen so far, I love her character.
She's just empathetic, thoughtful, a great character that, you know, like I love characters with like, I don't want to say flaws per se, but you can be like, okay, you didn't make the right call here, but you did over here. You can just understand how they think. So definitely Alex Chen for me. It's a great game, by the way.
She's a really fun one. And they do so well at writing really like, to me, what I feel like is like just human characters. Like they're not meant to represent one specific like element of the story. They're not meant to be there for like a purpose other than just being who they are. And I feel like that's like the kind of representation I love seeing. It's just like, yes, this is this person, but like they are a person.
Exactly.
So like they have flaws. They got things that like make them tick. Like they are just human trying to get through life like anyone else.
Anyway, sorry if this sucks.
Confetti, how about you?
I would say for me, because I don't really see asexual representation. Like I said, like literally Aloy is that it, or maybe like pushing it, Lightning from Final Fantasy 13, that series. Anytime like I'm playing the character, if I'm like, you know, character creation and stuff like that, like I feel like that's when I see myself most of the time, because I really want to see like those intersections, and I don't get to ever. So I would say like that is probably like my favorite characters when I like get to create the character and see myself.
I think that's such a good way to just already immerse yourself into the world and kind of like give a nice, like, I guess, sort of like a benchmark of like, this is who I am, and like I get to now interact with this world in a way that I'm already looking at it through this character.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. Yeah. How about you, Gwen?
Probably Ellie from The Last of Us. She's the only character I ever like cheered when I found out she was gay. Like that's never happened to me ever, but I was like, she's gay, and she kisses whoever in the second game. That was like a big moment for me. I don't really know why, but I just love her as a character in general. So like just that added bonus, like you find out later on, it's not really a retcon, I guess. It just didn't come up in the first game. So it was just a big moment. So
right. I get it. Like because I remember feeling like really, I think I remember like, you know, that moment where you just like have like an instinctual smile hearing something. That's like how I was when I felt same way about Ellie. Like, because, you know, we've seen things in the past where like the one example I can think of is like, you know, there was nothing in like the text of Harry Potter, and then there's J.K. Rowling being like, oh yeah, and Dumbledore's gay. It's like, well, if, you know, 100 years from now, people read this book and they can't see that he's gay, then he's not gay. So at least like with Ellie coming in and like, you know, having kissed another girl in that DLC, then it was like, oh, guess what? Well, you were right next to a lesbian that whole time. Like,
yeah, it just didn't come up
in the text.
Yeah,
it just didn't come up. Like, there's just, you know, she was doing her own stuff. Like, she was worried about saving the whole world.
Yeah,
like that gets in the way of a lot.
A little bit. She was what? God, she was like what? 13, 14? 12? She was young.
I think
she was
young.
I think
13 or 14 or something.
She was young and had literally the weight of the world on her shoulders. So yeah, she didn't have much of it. She couldn't really think about much at that point, for sure.
There she is. Now let's see what else this place has.
So Confetti, you mentioned something that I was thinking about along the lines of like things we haven't seen as far as like LGBTQIA plus storylines go. I feel like you were kind of touching on that a little bit as far as like storylines, especially around being asexual. Like, are there any like storylines you would want to see more of in the gaming world?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see asexual representation. I would like to see the aromantic. I would love to see two-spirit representation. Because I feel like, you know, when we talk about LGBTQIA+, like, I also want to, you know, remember that, you know, the indigenous two-spirit community is also a part of that. As long as, you know, that is done correctly and done respectfully by the people who are, you know, would produce those things. I would like to have queer stories that are decentered from whiteness, because I feel like when we get stories, they are always centered around whiteness. Or if you get a Black, Indigenous person of color in the story, they have to have a white partner. And it's okay for whiteness to be decentered from things. Because like growing up, you just don't see that. And even like to this day, like when you see like new things come out on Netflix, or when you see things like come out on anything, like there's always has to be like this whiteness centered. And it's like, I feel like, especially like Black queer kids, like they don't get to see themselves. Like it always has to be attached to that. And it's like, when do you get to see that, like just within your own community? I would like to, especially with asexuality, to not write it from an angle of just like, you need to fix this person, because there's nothing wrong in the first place. And really handling that story with care and research, and obviously like consult with people. So I would really like to see that.
Yeah, definitely what you said about like making sure we're consulting with people and like using
and paying
their
them.
Experience and paying them. Big important part there. You can't just like write these other identities without knowing what it's like to be those identities, because it just doesn't. If you try, it just doesn't translate very well. So I'm really glad to hear You mentioned that for sure. Dave, what about you?
To really piggyback off of what Miss MiladyConfetti said, honestly, it's seeing more diverse representation in LGBTQIA plus stories. You know, like for me, I'm hoping next year I could say, hey, that's my favorite black gay male character, not
right.
This is my character, he's my favorite because I created him and then I chose to date. I want to start listing off names. Like we could say Last of Us Ellie, I could say Alex Chen, but I can't say, hey, there's that black character. I love them. I've really felt like they're me. Now, it's cool we're seeing in media like Netflix and the other shows. We're getting more, but we got to take a step above and add more. So Miss MiladyConfetti hit it on the nail. Let's diversify. Let's get different stories and actually even speak to not only content creators, but diverse people of different races and their experience being LGBTQIA+. And I like the point of pay them, please pay them, but hear their stories, add them in your game and diversify. And then it'll be less, my favorite character is who I am in the game, and more, I like them, and them, you know? So that's what I would want to see.
Right. And I think like especially when we're bringing up the topics about like consulting and things, like I think one of the biggest and most like powerful examples I've seen of like how consulting can be so powerful is Hellblade. Where every step of the way they were consulting with people who actually went through psychosis. So it was literally like they put in the work. That company not only put in the work, but they consulted the right people and did it correctly. And I think it would be nice to see more of that in games with any marginalized identity. So love hearing that as well.
Exactly.
Gwen, what about you?
I want to see more characters that like just happen to be queer and it's not like the center of their character. Like sometimes it feels like they're trying to like fill a quota or something like that. And like, you know, they have to write a gay character in, but just like characters who happen to be queer. I think Jules from Euphoria is like the perfect example of that. She's just a girl who happens to be trans and she doesn't even like vocalize it until like the end of the first season. Like you see her, you know, take her HRT and, you know, have talks with her dad, but it's never like in your face about it. Okay. It's just like kind of like passive representation, I guess. Like you see these people and you can relate to them, but it's just not like here's the trans character, that's it, you know. Just like having people and normalizing like queer people exist and they're normal, and like you probably know somebody because I don't know, just having them be more available and more common I think would help a lot.
So kind of going off of like being representation on screen, like I feel that it's very important to also have that representation behind the scenes as well. Why would you say that's important, Confetti? As far as like having like devs or writers or things working behind the scenes on gaming, like
the people behind the scenes inform the thing that gets seen by, you know, a wider audience. So when you're hiring or when you're bringing people on for consultant and paying them their worth, you know that this is like, you know, it's a labor of love. It's something that, you know, comes from people who are just like you. So I believe that that is very, very important. And also when you're doing those things, to always approach with intersectionality. And for those who do not know what that intersectionality is, please look that up, and Kimberly Crenshaw. And please read that because it applies to literally everything in life, that you always exist between the crossroads of all of your identities at the same time, simultaneously. So for me, having those things behind the scenes, you know, how a character is written, how a character looks. You know, I know for like the Black community, you'll probably see on Twitter a lot, but talking about like our hair and like how that comes out, you know, that is very important to us. So yeah, that representation, it really shows in the final product of what the behind the scenes kind of look like, and how much love and how much of a labor of love that is with the final product that comes out that we get to see.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's definitely reflected in the final product. Gwen, what about you?
I think it's super important just because, like, you know, if you have like a queer design lead on a game, like in a way they're their own advocate for their community, and they can like voice the common concerns of their own communities and like make sure it's represented well in the game. I mean, it's not up to everybody to like. It's impossible to know everybody's experiences, So you really need to like ask people, and as Confetti says, pay them well, and ask firsthand, because that's the only way you'll get the truth.
For sure. Dave, what about you?
Well, really, to piggyback off their points, well, pay them well. That's a theme. Always do. But ultimately, it's important to have, because I'm sure we've all been on Twitter and seen whatever companies may be tweet. And it's like, hey, did you actually speak to somebody in the room that is LGBTQIA+? Because they would have been like, hey, that's not okay. Or phrasing, or speak to someone black. That's not the best idea. It's important to have these people background to get that perspective or takes, because I believe when a lot of these mishaps happen, they didn't have those individuals in the room. So diversify them so they can tell their stories accurately, let you know what is and isn't okay, and ultimately diversify the space so other people can go into it. You know what I mean? I'd say many years back, I didn't know many black people in the gaming industry. There were like select few, but as you see more in there, I'm like, hey, they did it, I could do it too. And even in the space for streaming and even background, like just seeing people there makes you more willing to say, hey, they're there, I could do it too. So it's important to have them in the final product, in the background, and of course, visible, so others can do it as well, decide, and feel comfortable within the space.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. Like I know for me, like even though I don't like do writing for gaming, I know that when I write, it's a lot from my own personal experience. So I think like, making sure that if you don't have that personal experience to go off of to write about something that you have no idea about, I think what people need to realize is like, you can be like, I don't know what it's like to live that life. And if I want to write something that reflects living that life, you need to hire some consultants to figure out how you're going to do that. Because like you're saying, like you'll know when it's not done well, because you'll be like, that's not what it's like. That's not how living my life is like. So.
And also, like, if there are people who are queer in the room and the product still came out, I always question, okay, what kind of environment are you cultivating for the fact? Do they feel empowered to stand up or to say something? Because, oftentimes it's just like, maybe there are people in the room and it's just like, well, if I say something like, I know I'm going to get fired, or I'm going to get labeled a certain way, or, they'll start keeping a list of things that I've done and then push me out of my job or the space or something like that. So I always question that too, when you find out like, oh, somebody was there, but so what happened? Like, what's the full picture there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Definitely something to keep in mind. So with all that said and done, what are we kind of looking forward to in the future of gaming? I know I'm looking forward to definitely more queer stories and more just having queer characters just exist, because I'm noticing that there are definitely a lot of gamers out there that like simply the mere presence of a queer character makes them angry. And it's like, but they didn't even do anything. They're just being queer. So I think the more that we just have characters out there being queer, I think is just eventually like them being mad about it's not going to do anything, because nobody's listening to you anymore. Just pipe down and stay in your corner. We'll start with you, Gwen.
I totally agree with that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I think if anybody gets upset at a game for having a queer character, they should stop playing it, and they probably will stop playing it, and they can, find something else to do. But yeah, we just need to keep releasing queer characters and queer storylines, and just let that representation outweigh all the hate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, Confetti?
I'm looking forward with gaming, particularly like with companies and campaigns, to work with queer creators, not just in the month of Pride, but all year round. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a Pride event. Like, you're literally working with queer content creators all year round, because we're content creators and we're here, we exist, and paying us our time. Yes.
Listen, we have bills to pay all year round, not just Pride Month. Come on.
Listen, that Verizon bill ain't stopping. Shoot, I gotta pay for this cell phone. So I would say that's something that I'm very much looking forward to. Like, Pride obviously is like, a huge celebration, and, something that should be focused on, but also remember that these creators exist outside of that. And also remember, like I said, always, having the broad range of diversity when you are bringing on people to these campaigns, because that is very important to do. So I know like Logitech is probably going to be doing a lot more things with like queer content creators throughout the year. And I think that is awesome that they make like that active initiative to do those things. But like we just here and we exist, and I love that, and I want to see that all year round for marginalized creators.
Absolutely. Dave?
And to piggyback, honestly, on what you all said, from seeing the stories, seeing queer content creators being paid, and in a lot of activations year round, I also can't wait to see more queer individuals within the space, like in the background, foreground, everything invisible. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to. And a small personal thing in the future of gaming, y'all gonna catch me in a few video games this year, so be on the lookout. I'm gonna be streaming. I'm not gonna let anybody know unless they announce it. I'm gonna stream and be like, dang, they sound really similar to me. Wow. So I'm waiting for those moments. There's a couple of them where I'm like, look, I'll be streaming at day one.
I'm excited to hear Dave in a game.
There's some tea to drop right at the end.
Fun little closing announcement there, especially along the lines of paying us and doing work, you know, behind the scenes and getting representation in front of the camera. Like, let's get it going. Thank you so much to our guests today, and thank you to you for watching. To see more of each of our guests today, you can head down to the description. If you want to learn more about how Logitech approaches diversity and inclusion, we got links for that down below as well. For more Logitech roundtables, check out our accessibility in gaming and Black content creator discussions, and make sure to hit subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss another Logitech video.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.